Welcome. Today, Cap, Skil, and I, with the Grim Reapers, will provide a full review of Winwing's new Skywalker rudder pedals. This will be the follow-up to our Why You Need Rudder Pedals video, posted a couple days ago.
Hello, boys.
Cheers, Cap.
Hey, Cap. The list of things we'll cover will be Winwing's commercial ad, unboxing, a few assembly pics, SimApp Pro, price, Cap's comments, Skil's comments, and my comments. Let's get started.
Nobody stopping me.
Here's Skil doing a speedy unboxing. Winwing does a very good job packaging their products. Everything is made of metal, and the tools necessary for assembly are included. A rubber floor mat is included as well. I tried the mat on a wood and a tile floor. They worked, but if you set the damper tension to a high level, you may want to secure the rudder to a stronger fixture. Skil and I bolted our rudders to our Wheelstand Pro HOTAS rigs. At the time of editing, Cap has his rig in a state of flux, but will affix it to a thick section of fixed plywood. Download and install SimApp Pro from Winwing Store before you plug in the rudders. Make sure the rudders, your mouse, and keyboard are the only USB devices running before you update the rudders. Having other devices running while updating the device firmware would be bad. Here are Winwing's prices as of January 20, 2024. I would highly recommend including the damper with your purchase. Their damper is about $20 cheaper than the aftermarket one I purchased for my other rudders.
Hello viewers, Kelso asked me to join in on this Skywalker review because I happen to have a set myself. Now the thing is, I've only had them set up and running for a few days and I'm not sure I can add a huge amount at the moment. So what I thought I would do is to go back over the last 6 years or so that I've been using rudder pedals in DCS, in which time I've gone through 4 different sets, 4 different types, and give my opinion of the progression of those types and where I've ended up now. So the first one I started in 2018 was a entry-level, relatively cheap Thrustmaster set. I can't remember the exact name and I don't think they make it anymore. It looks a bit like this that I found on the internet. I remember they cost about $90 and they worked okay. They had a rudder axis so you could move the left foot and the right foot, but what they didn't have was toe brakes where you could tilt each individual footing to give toe brakes. I didn't really think much of it at the time because I'd never had toe brakes before, but now I realise that was a major deficit of the unit at the time, only having the ability for the main axis. Obviously they were cheap and plasticky, but they are entry level, so that's acceptable. In terms of the actual axis, it worked okay, but it had one major problem, in that is the main sensor it had was a sensor known as a potentiometer. That's a mechanical sensor where you have kind of metal bits rubbing against metal bits, rather than a modern induction type sensor, like a hall sensor. Now, the problem I found with these potentiometers is they don't last very long. The reason seems to be that the rudder pedals are obviously below your feet. What happens below your feet? Loads of stuff comes off your shoes, comes off your socks, works its way into the unit, works its way into the potentiometer, it gets gummed up and stops working. I remember after less than a year it stopped moving left properly, or stopped detecting left properly, and I gave up and threw it out. You'll probably agree with me, viewers, once you've gone into rudder pedals you can never really go back, so I couldn't go back to twist grip, so I had to get a new set. And I moved to the next level, which would be the SimApp Pro series. I can't remember how much they cost. I'm going to guess about $150, but I may be wrong. They're kind of plasticky, but they're a bit better than the entry-level Thrustmaster that they had at the time. They were similar in that they were plasticky and they were potentiometer based, but the benefit they brought was that they had toe brakes. You could actually tilt the foot pieces to give toe brakes, so that was brilliant. Overall, they worked okay, but the same problem. They had 3 potentiometers in it, 1 for the main axis and 2 for the toe brakes. And of course, after a few months, they start getting gummed up. By this point, I was really annoyed, so I tried fixing them. I took them apart. I've actually got a video on YouTube somewhere of how to replace the potentiometers. You can buy the potentiometers, I think, from Indonesia or Australia for little money, and then it started working again. And then a few months went by, they got filled up with gum, and of course, they went again. At that point, I was getting extremely peeved off. Maybe even some of you might remember my videos where I'm shouting, the rudder pedals aren't working properly, that's why I'm missing. Yeah, so cheap, but don't last very long, was annoying. I ended up giving them away for free, and I think someone else fixed them. Then I moved to my first, what I would call professional set. It was these guys, MFG Crosswind. Cost was about £300, about $350. The main difference, I guess, was that we moved from potentiometer technology to hall sensor technology. I think that's what it's called anyway. It's the non-friction based sensor technology. The great thing about this technology is it's completely reliable. It's no better or worse really than a potentiometer in my opinion in terms of function, but it doesn't get gummed up and it doesn't break down, so it lasts forever pretty much. The Crosswind in general I thought was a great set. It felt great, the toe brakes felt really nice, everything was pretty sturdy, but it did have one problem with them, and that is the actual foot bits that you put your feet on are not made of metal. They were made of, I don't know what it is, it's like some kind of laminate material that had been milled. And there seemed to be a bit of a defect in the design in that obviously they have to be bolted to the assembly. Therefore you had metal bolts going directly in and seating into threads in this laminate material. Now, the thing about that is foot pedals take a big beating. People's legs and feet are very strong. That's why pedals on cars have to be so strong. And after a while, what I found is that the metal screw or bolt started chewing up the thread of the laminate material and started coming loose, and it was very annoying obviously. And I'm not the kind of guy that sends things back to the supplier, so I engineered my own solution, and it looks a bit ugly, but it fixed the problem. But that is obviously a problem there. If you have these laminate type things with metal going directly into them, eventually they will break down. Now, they may have fixed that, and I don't want to discredit the brand. It's just a particular experience that I had. And so we bring us to 2024, and a few days ago I received my fully metal Winwing Skywalker, and it is everything that I've learned added together. So instead of potentiometers, it's got the more modern sensors. I don't know the exact words, so I'm not going to pretend to say, but it's the modern type of sensors that don't break down. As well as that, it's, as far as I can see, all metal. So it's bolts into metal. They're going to take a beating, a big beating, over the next few years, and I'm pretty sure that they're not going to break down because obviously it's metal on metal. Also, the sensors are not going to break down because it's modern sensors. In terms of the feel and stuff like that, then I don't have a huge amount of feedback because I've only just started using them, but they feel at least as good as the Crosswind, or probably better, I would say. More solid all round, less movement. They fix down to the ground a bit easier. They're heavier overall, as you would expect, and that's actually good for rudder pedals. They look the part, they look like a serious piece of kit, and as well as that, the actual, again, I don't know what they're called, but the bits you actually put your feet on are the real shape of a real aircraft's, that kind of ear type shape, rather than a flat type shape of the Crosswind. It takes a bit of getting used to, but once you do, it's much more realistic. So far, very happy, no complaints. That's all I've got to add at the moment. Back to the boys. I hope that was useful, and bye-bye.
Cheers, Cap. As I have said many times before, I have been flying sims for many years and have used numerous rudder pedals from various manufacturers, from the cheapest plastic entry-level pedals to the top-of-the-range all-metal construction jobs. I have to say that I think the Skywalker pedals are right up there at the top of the range level. The main structural components are all metal, albeit there are a couple of plastic covers, giving them a hefty weight and a sturdy, rugged feel. The paint, or powder coat finish, is top-notch, giving the Skywalkers a premium look as well as the premium feel. The foot pedal plates are solid and have a decent amount of adjustment for their mounting angle, so they can be angled to suit you. I love the addition of the damper. The level of damping is fully adjustable and can be increased or decreased by the simple turn of a dial. I have mine set so that there is just sufficient damping to stop any rebound, springy effect when the pedals recenter, so I can simply lift my feet off the pedals and they will return to centre without any bouncing back and forth. The centering spring is easily removable, so you can, if you prefer, have no spring installed and have the damper set so that the pedals stay in whatever position you leave them in. On the subject of the centering spring, that takes me to my only slight gripe about the Skywalker pedals, in that there is no adjustment to the strength of the centering spring. It's either fitted and the pedals recenter, or it isn't and they don't. You cannot adjust the strength of the recentering force. Obviously this is mitigated by the addition of the damper, which although it doesn't adjust the spring strength, it does allow you to smoothen things out. Of course, last but not least, you have the ability to lock the yaw rotation function altogether, and simply use the axis controls on the pedal footplates themselves, I suppose for driving games to simulate the pedals in a car. So, overall, as far as my conclusions go, I would highly recommend the Winwing Skywalker pedals as very high quality pedals for use in flight sims, with some very nice features. Definitely up there with other top of the range offerings, but at a more reasonable price. What do you think, Kelso?
Thanks, Skil. As I mentioned in the last video, I've never used a twist grip for flight sims. Years ago, I ran through 2 sets of SimApp Pro pedals before buying one, then a second set of TPRs for a second rig. Those served me well. I upgraded the large rig's rudders with an aftermarket damper, and that works well. Last year, I did a review on a Thrustmaster racing wheel and had been using the TPRs on that rig. The Winwing Skywalkers have replaced the TPRs on that rig for 2 reasons. 1, the Skywalkers have a damper, and 2, I can lock the Skywalkers and use them as gas and brake pedals while playing racing games. I expect racing folk will send loads of hate mail for my blasphemy. To make this short, I recommend the Skywalkers as a top-tier set of rudders at a lower than top-tier price. We hope this review has provided enough information for you to make a decision. For Cap, Skil, and I, we thank you for watching.